Hello. We are now in the ID.3. This is a match edition. It's the facelift model 2024. Caffein's VW of Brighton kindly lent this to me for the entire day. Much appreciated. And having driven around in it a few hours, it actually is a nice small hatchback with lots of oomph. Because it is electric, the drivetrain is very good for that, and it's a very nice car to drive. It's very minimalist inside. You've got a small-ish display in the middle. This is going to change in the near future to a 13-inch. It's going to be a much bigger display. You've got the gear selector on the right here attached to the instrument cluster display at the front, although the next model is going to have this move down onto a stalk instead. Touch sensitive buttons sadly are staying. They are very annoying. People didn't like them. Even in the course of a few hours, I'm not really getting along with them that well. And the same with the display at the front. Even though it has got illustrations at the top, what they're for, and they may be illuminated, they're not really great. And your hand sort of wafts up and you kind of misjudge them a little bit. The cockpit itself is very similar to the Cupra. It's less curved feel to it, even though it is slightly there. It's less of it than the Cupra, I feel, but the car does feel thinner for it. Tall windscreen, very similar to the Golf, although it just does feel a bit more narrower. You've got a little bit of a pillar, but there is glass there, so you don't really feel restricted too much. The wing mirrors, I would say, pretty much match the Golf in their look. Well, I'm not really a big fan of the piano black door holdings. It's a fingerprint magnet, and it could eventually scratch as well. You can get covers like carbon fiber covers and wraps for this, so that's something I would probably recommend. You've got nice fabric though, and some soft touch around on the door seal there, as well as on top, and this nice stitching along the bottom here. Some nice medium-sized grille vents for ventilation. Very oddly, they've chosen to put the lights on between the instrument cluster and the center screen, which is odd, and not actually put it here like it is on the Cupra Born, which I find a bit odd and very awkward to get to through the steering wheel. So it feels like a bit of an after sight there, potentially left and right hand drive. Speaking of left and right hand drive, again, you have these weird, you had a smear down the side because it was the left hand one is the last one to wipe, so very awkward. Deep pockets for storage, super deep pocket for, well, not super deep, but deep enough. And you've got two USB-C ports in there to connect to your phone and power your phone as well. If you've got the option, you've got wireless charging. So you put your iPhone in there and it will start wirelessly charging. Getting it out is a little bit awkward because you have to like lift up this flap. That's a bit awkward. You've got two cup holders there, nice and big, but again, piano black. So things could touch that and scuff that. Not really a big fan, but again, you can get covers for this as well. Small little something. Just like the Born, the glove box is absolutely useless, very small. Not much you can do there, and you've got the fuse board box on the left-hand side there. Controls again are awkward, where you've got the rear, you have to toggle it, and they're touch sensitive, that's awkward. But I find these get a bit awkward to use, but I managed to figure that out in the end. To adjusted mirrors. You've got SOS and things like up here, lighting and emergency calling and so on, and maintenance. But that's basically it in the front. Nice comfy seats, they're fabric, they're not the premium versions, and they've got some adjustment in the headrest there. They're not fused like the Borns are, but it's nice hard wearing material. You've got these armrests here, which you have got so many sort of levels of micro movement to get them perfectly right for you, and they're well padded as well. Okay, let's check out what's inside the back. Okay, we're in the back. Nice wide opening for the door there, so you'd be installing baby seats and things. You've got ISOFIX down below here as well, and there is good level of support for my legs here. They're not far up high, and the floor is totally flat. You can get your feet underneath too. There is, oddly, no door pockets on this particular model, but I think that is a thing now in the newer models. At least with the premium seating, you do get phone pouches and a map pocket as well at the back. Again, the gloss black continues into the rear. Again, so if you were to wrap the front too, you might have to do the back too as well. Electric windows, and the door, sort of silver chrome effect plastic handle to open up the doors. Nice big windows, quite a low seal, so you could Nice, so you don't feel that claustrophobic. Although there is a big, is it C-pillar at the back here, so that might struggle with visibility with reversing, but if you've got a camera mounted in the back, then that's good. So worth also saying is that the camera at the back is in the badge of the boot, whereas in the Bourne it's above the number plate on the back of the bumper, so it's going to get more dirty on the Bourne than it is on the ID.3, so bear that in mind. Again, you've got a folding down hatch, and then you've also got armrests as well with cup holders. Really nice to see. When you've got travel, you can adjust these, no problem. 4 fingers and a thumb of headroom for me, and I'd say a full length of a hand there between my driving position in the car, so plenty of room. I'll be super comfortable in this on a very long journey, no problems. So very happy with the back. It's really nice considering the short stumpy nature of the ID.3 and the Bournes, in that their length is pretty much the same as the Golf. There's still loads of room. They could have pushed the back forward perhaps and got even a bigger boot. So let's have a look at the boot. So the boot itself has loads of space. I think if you're used to a Golf size of literage, then the Golf and the ID.3 do have a similar kind of boot space. With the back seats folded down, you're going to get a lot more storage as well. Should you be doing any sort of DIY or removals or a big IKEA trip, it's definitely going to work with that too. We're also going to take this for a little bit of drive. We've got our CarPlay set up here. We're going to be taking ourselves back to the dealer to drop this car off. So we're going to test out a little bit of urban, a little bit of motorway, and a little bit of country as well. And we'll see how this car performs. We've got various modes here. We've got Eco, Comfort, and Individual. We're going to go for Sport. It's actually got a nicer acceleration. We're going to go over the top of the downs here in Brighton. And we're generally going to have a groovy old time. We've got regenerative braking on as well. You've got the acceleration, which is always fun to experience. And then basically we've got nice visibility from the screen. If you're used to the Golf is very similar. Although I do feel that I am quite high up. I've lowered my chair down, and I still feel that the whole car is elevated higher than my Golf. The ride height and the ride itself is nice and smooth, does the bumps really well, and the noise in the cockpit at speed is very good, and you'll hear that when we get to that section of the video. Visibility from the mirrors are very good. Adjusting them is quite easy. You just have to turn the dial and turn the dial till it lights up, and then you can actually then adjust them as you like. That's good for me. Got some rack and reach down the bottom here. This model hasn't got the electric version of the adjustment, and you've got some nice comfy handles here to rest your elbows on. Same with the right hand side as well. Nice calming indicator stalk noise. And the stereo is not too bad, but it is a front firing system. There's no speakers in the back in this model. It's not a high-end car system, but the stereo is actually not too bad. I would say it's on par with the stock version of the Golf, and the Golf rear speakers aren't really that loud anyway, but it does give you a more sense of volume. We can try it out here and see if it comes across in the speakers okay.
Well, here we are, back in the hot, muggy streets of New York.
It's got a good level of bass to it, but these touch controls are really disappointing. I don't know what VW did for that. It's a really bad decision to have these touch inputs. It's very distracting. It took me a while to figure out the navigation side, because personally I'd rather up and down be volume and backwards and forwards to be the track seek, but it's the opposite way on here, which is really frustrating. View at the bottom here basically changes this dial between different, but it doesn't loop over, which is another frustrating thing. And you've got adaptive cruise control, visibility in the display there, very much like my Golf. So it kind of makes adjustment of the controls a bit awkward. You kind of have to like look at what you're touching. It's not so tactile. And the regenerative braking is not too bad. I've just come off it there and it's slowing down in a nice way, but it will creep. There's no one pedal driving on this vehicle, unfortunately. So downwards, it's going to change track, and then you can hold it down. It's going to seek through. And then we've got navigation is partially set up, pass through from Apple, so that's a nice touch. There's no heads-up display though on the ID.3 as far as I know of. And I just reminded that I'm going to be caught in the rush hour traffic, so that just lets me talk to you a little bit more, which is always good, isn't it? Another thing, difference I found with the Born, which I only just had a go in yesterday, so it's quite fresh, is that this section here is about up to here in the Born. So your leg is kind of like touching it and things, and it kind of feels a little bit more claustrophobic, a little bit more cramped in the Born compared to the ID.3. And I was swinging between which one I actually prefer. I think I prefer this because it feels more open. Doesn't necessarily have to be this high unless you did want to have that cocoon feel. But what I feel is that it's going to be really good when the 13-inch display comes in, because that display is really, really nice. So whilst I'm here, let's go through the system. So you've got this kind of like tile which you can change the color of, and that gives you access to all the vehicle navigations and stuff. You've got navigation itself built into the thing if you don't use anything like Android Auto or CarPlay, but the majority of the time you probably will. You've got vehicle settings. At the moment this is an offline mode. They've told me to put it in offline mode, and you can set all the gubbins here, vehicle data, charging rates and so on. It's only doing 3.2 kilowatt miles to the kilowatt hour, which is obviously not brilliant, but again, it's a demo car and it's being driven by lots of different people. We can do since charge, which is going to be me. So I'm doing 3.5, which is a little bit nicer, a bit more acceptable, but I've only been in it for an hour and 18 minutes. So you've got charging. It's fully charged since this morning. I've driven around a little bit and we're down to 88% with 191 miles left in the tank. You can do charging locations and so on. That takes us back to CarPlay. And then you've got users for user specific permissions. And this is when I found out that there's only front facing speakers, because you can't go down here. Volume adjustments, so you've got independent volume for like navigation as well as music. So that's always good to have in a car, because when you don't have that, it's super annoying. And then you've got some very lightweight equalizer trebles there, and that will do. Oh, that centers everything. Okay, that'll do. And then settings for audio. So you've got touch input settings. You've got those annoying bing bongs. Also, when you get out the car, you get this VW chime, which can be a bit annoying as well. That is the sound. Then we've got background, which is going to change you all the different options for coloring the UI, whether you want it to be orange and so on. That will also, I think, change the ambient lighting in the vehicle, so you can have it nice and moody if you want to. You can set that. Then you've got like air conditioning and how you want that to happen. That now resets back, which is annoying. Settings, it's going to be the vehicle settings, so setting time and date, and the home button design and so on. And any sort of Wi-Fi configuration that you have in the car. And then driver assist, which is also handy. Not quite sure what it can do. So you've got adaptive cruise control, speed limiter, you've got lane assist, which is annoying, dynamic road sign display, which is going to work with the adaptive cruise control when it goes past it. So that's super handy, I think. I don't have that in the Golf. You've got alert system to detect that you're being drowsy or not. You've got eco assistance to make you drive a little bit smoother. And then you've got front assist if you think it's going to collide with a car in front. It's going to put your brakes on. And then you've got ID software, which is obviously going to allow you to browse some kind of store, I would believe, let you actually install some apps. And obviously that's probably what the shop is as well. Obviously that's all online functionality, and you need the account set up for that. So that's basically it really. In the menu, it's pretty nicely put together. I wouldn't say it's super clunky, even though it's shared with the Cupra Born. I found the Cupra Born display a little bit more clunky than this one, even though they both technically share exactly the same platform. It's not bad. I thought I'd basically going to get a bad experience, I reckon, but it is actually not as bad as people were making out to be. I could live with it. Now that I've seen the 13-inch display inside the ID.7 in their showroom, that display is going to be really nice here. It's less chin-like. You do have this kind of like shelf, but it's actually really, really nice. And you can have set this to light and dark mode as well, which is not too bad. This keeps on thinking I'm trying to talk to it, and I don't know what the trigger word is, but every now and then it does come up. You've got shortcuts here to go into assist as well, changing the mode, going straight into climate, which you've got some nice climate modes here, or you can have smart. So if you can't work out what the classic ones do, you can say defrog my windscreen, cool my feet, etc. It's going to do exactly the same, it's just labeled differently. So that's not the end of the world. You've got air care, it's got this pollen filters inside, and that power button will turn the whole aircon off. And then menu, sort of not quite sure, parking menu, that's what it is. That will auto park, by the way. I don't know if it does that memory parking. I thought that was quite a cool feature for the VW cars, in that you can park and it will remember that sequence, and then it will basically, you could just tap a button and then it will park for you. So if you have a quite a tight maneuver, you can basically tap this button after doing a previous recording, and it will then recreate that parking for you. So it's kind of like semi-intelligent. All it's doing is just repeating a preset recorded parking maneuver, and that's what it's doing basically. So it's not rocket science, but it does take it up to the next level, unless you can teach it. I don't know how good it is. I never experienced it myself. If you have experienced it, let me know in the comments. It'd be quite cool to hear if that feature is actually decent or not. So this is what I mean. I pressed it and it didn't increase to the next track. It sort of jolted it instead. So you need to properly press it down and let go quickly for it to register the next track, or at least be on it to then press it. It's a bit weird. Not a fan of the touch input. Another thing I'm not a fan of is this piano black everywhere. It's not nice. Potentially scratchable. You can see why they've done it, because it does add a little bit of glistening to the interior, so it makes the whole interior look a little bit more lighter. If it was matte, it would look a little bit more duller, but I'd rather have matte because it's more long lasting than this. But the chairs are super comfy. I can definitely do a long journey in this. It's not too soft, it's definitely supportive. It's quite wide for my build, so if you're a bigger person than me, it's definitely going to hug you at speed. But it's got separate headrests, so they can be pulled out if need be, but it's not a solid massive chair that like the Born and some of the other cars I've been in this week seem to be. But lots of deep pockets, tiny glove box, and the footrest here at the bottom is very small compared to the Golf, as is the right hand side, but these paddles are a little bit more bigger. And we'll try out these settings here. So we've got, this is basically your adaptive cruise, very similar to the Golf, if not identical. You can change the mode between limiting and adaptive cruise, and then once you've got it set, you can set the speed to what it's currently set to, and you can also reset as well if you want to reset to a new value. And then you've got radar increase and decrease, as well as increase and decrease the speed as well. Oh, it's quite cold now. I am cool enough. Not much of a fan of this MFD, the front here, instrument dial. It tells you what you need to know, but there are some bits that are a bit too smaller than I would like, and I personally would like to be able to customize this a little bit more as well. Right, we're finally on a moving bit of road now. Right, we're back in. So you can see here we got the adaptive cruise control enabled there. We'll set it to 70. It's fluctuating in the middle between the two at the moment, but it's keeping its good distance. It's going to pull over and let the fast men have passed. And then basically you can set the how much speed you want, and if you push this down here you can alter the line, which it doesn't seem to want to do. Is that the... oh, that's as close as it gets. Okay, so that's the closest line you can have for adaptive. And I can't live without this now. I need adaptive cruise control. So for the cars I drove this week, it's the addition is you don't get it. You have to get level 3 on the Mini Cooper. You have to get the extra pack, which is about 300 to 500 for on the Peugeot 208. It comes on the Born as it does with this, and I think you can get it as well on the Renault as standard, I believe, but I'll go into that when I've actually do my Renault Megane video. So we're doing 70 and the noise is actually very acceptable. This is not a new road surface, but it's newish. And I think once you've got the stereo on, you're not really going to tell the difference. It's actually going to be quite a fairly quiet ride. I think it could be quieter though, compared to some competition. The bumps are a little bit bumpy for sport mode. I think I would like to see a more hunkered down suspension. I don't know if this has a dynamic suspension package, because they say if it does, then definitely opt for that, because it's actually a good addition for the Born. I think it, and if it comes with the ID.3 too, then it's actually might be worth adding it onto your order as well. And there's hardly any noise coming from the mirrors. It's got some good sound editing from those coaches just then. But I think for me it's a little bit too rolly. It needs to firm the suspension a little bit. Okay, last bit of urban drive before we hand this beautiful little car back. It's been a good solid ride for me today, and thanks again to Volkswagen Caffins in Brighton. That's been really much appreciated to have this for the day. Thank you very much. So if you found this helpful, give us a thumbs up and let me know in the comments if you'd like to see this in any other vehicle that is currently available today, and I'll do my best to make that happen. You can send us a super thanks along with your comment or question. I really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.